the best news I've heard in a long while is that forests and parks are opening up again in Poland.
Hurrah! Yes.
I didn't realise how much I need a forest until I heard that you were able to go to a forest.
I'm gonna go. I was going to go today, but now I have to get stuff in the builder's shop, the DIY shop. So I'll probably, I have to sacrifice some trees today and do some nasty stuff to dead trees. So
Right.
I wouldn't feel right about going today. So I'll go in a day or two. What the fuck did I come across the other day? And they were talking about how trees are. It was someone connected with ohm and ohm writing, and how all of the ohm letters, while representing a letter of the Latin alphabet that we all use, they also represent the trees that the Celts and the Druids used as their zodiac. So the Celts didn't have Libra and stuff like that. They had Ash and Rowan and blah, 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 blah. You know all this stuff anyway. And
Okay. I know some of it.
well, I mean, I'm sure you've looked into it before, but like someone was saying that the trees are and I like this, they are the silent witness to human history. Isn't that cool, isn't it?
Oh,
it's like they're there just in silent judgment, and they're the ones. They're going to be like
I like the way you add the judgment and straight away into the Catholic guilt, straight in. They're looking at me, I'm doing something wrong.
They're going to be like the Ents, you know, and when the world ends in about 3 or 4 weeks' time, they're all just going to uproot their legs and just be like, "Ooh, Murphy, I saw," and you're like, "Oh, Jesus, just get it over with, will you?" But like, I wonder, like, what they're like, you know, the way my fucking head works. Like, imagine, like, when you walk into a tree, because we know, or when you walk into a tree, when you walk into a forest, you know, when you walk into a forest, you know, they know now from the science thing that the science people do, that you know, trees kind of communicate with each other through like the fungus.
Mushrooms,
yeah, through the mushrooms and that are growing on the roots and all that. So like they warn, and they're like, yeah, someone's coming, and then it spreads all throughout the forest. But I wonder, like, is there a stink of death of someone like me who works with a little bit of wood every now and again?
Oh, right, yeah. Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, yeah.
I hope not, because because I really like forests, but like I don't want to go in and be like, I'm not going to kill anyone. It's just I'm like it's like going to a farm. I'm not going to kill the cow. I'll eat you when you're done. But like, I don't know.
I don't know. You may bring an awful lot of peace offerings next time you go into a forest.
Stupid things I think about, man. I don't know, but like, I'm going to go to. I even know which one I have. I have it picked out which one I'm going to go to, because it's one that like people don't like. Of all the kind of spots around here, that like, there's tons of forests, but of all the forests around me, some of them are way more popular than others. So like, I already know which one I'm going to go to. I'm going to go there. I know I'm going to be on my own, and it's just going to be bliss. I might even frolic around naked. Woo!
Bring your cigarettes and whiskey for Pan.
For Pan, yeah. So who's older than Pan? Is Pan the oldest? Is Pan the archetype of the forest god?
Well, Pan is the Greek one, so he's definitely the oldest in the Western canon. So I'm sure Mesopotamia or Babylon or some of them had probably some equivalent. Like Marduk's the oldest god, isn't it? That we know of, and he has many aspects and stuff like that. So,
and are they from like the who were the Anunnaki? They're like the first society, aren't they?
They're from a 1970s book written by an American dude.
They're not real.
I don't know. Well, I mean, they're real. I mean, that's the thing. Look, but it's I'm not really sure where they fit in. It has to be part of that whole
Mesopotamia, are they?
Yeah. Well, I'm showing the kind of the limit of my knowledge of these things, because I kind of, when I'm watching stuff like Ancient Aliens or or reading Sitchin, isn't that who it is? Zachary Sitchin, is not the where it all kind of comes from. Him and Eric Von Daniken.
Okay. Well, you can't trust Von Daniken as far as you can throw him, like.
But like, I mean, definitely. But it's like that's the thing. But when I'm kind of engaged with that stuff, it's very much from an entertainment point of view. The part of my brain where I would store knowledge just goes, no, don't remember any of this. You don't need this. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and it's funny.
Let it go through.
Ancient Aliens used to have like Graham Hancock used to be on it quite a bit. And now he's never on it. So like even he had enough of the bullshit, you know.
Yeah, and you see, you have your man from what was I started seeing him on a lot of things. You know that Last House on the Left or whatever that's called, that podcast. What's that called? But he started to be on a lot of these shows now and stuff, so he must have taken them. Unless they're just kind of people who went, we're sick of Graham.
Well, I know. I mean, it's funny. It's
might have been his decision.
Like, it's a funny show because like you get like, you know, fucking Harvard and Yale professors and stuff coming on, and like they obviously know going into it that it's most of it's a farce or whatever. But they're still like willing to go on it and talk about stuff. So
yeah, and I think they're kind of open enough about it where like where they're going like, this is just purely speculation, but let's have a bit of fun with it, like, you know. And so once you do that, you can kind of then go off and, you know, what if aliens did build, you know, the pyramids in Peru? What would that mean? But it's then people then take that and go, oh yeah, well obviously aliens built the pyramids in Peru, and it's
like even what's his name, what's the big scientist that everyone likes now? Has been on Joe Rogan a few times.
Black Science dude.
Yeah, he got in trouble for like
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah. So like even he's had programs where he's done speculation things about what aliens in other galaxies could look like and all. And there was the one I remember was that you could have a silicon based life form rather than a carbon based, which is what we are. Right, and what they'd look like. They're all like Pamela Anderson's boobs and stuff, you know.
Big dildo.
Hello. All the Earth men going. And all the Earth women going. Bitches, oh my god.
Not to stereotype anything.
No.
He plays an awful arsehole on Twitter, doesn't he? Though, in fairness to him.
Like Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Very condescending. Like it's almost like a game people play just to give it back to him. You see it an awful lot. Well, maybe it's just because I see most of his tweets from actually a Reddit point of view, and Reddit don't seem to like him too much. So.
Right. I did follow him for a while, but I have very well. I mean, I'm not on Twitter at all now anymore. Like I still have the thing. It's only when I get a notification that I go on it. So, but yeah, no, I didn't follow him for long at all because. I can't be dealing with people talking to each other and arguing. Well, not talking to each other, arguing with each other. Yeah. You know,
there was a tweet this morning I seen of it goes like, if a common enemy can't get everyone in the world to, gang together, then I've no hope for humanity. It's like, fuck off, who cares? You know what I mean? Who cares what you think? You're a scientist. You're not a fucking philosopher. You're not,
paying off women to not bring it to court. Fuck off. You know? Jesus.
Or like Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Allegedly.
Like everyone, allegedly, yeah. Who everyone just, he's like... in the cult circles, just like, oh, he's a plant, he's a shill. He's like, I don't know. It's like he's one of those guys who'd never kind of translated across the continent or across the Atlantic. He's not a big. He's never been on my radar at all. Like, but he's huge in America. Same as
Isn't he not a scientist though? Isn't he? Isn't that it? Isn't he like a qualified economist or something like that?
There's something anyway that it's like the science guy isn't a science guy. But it's same as Mr. Rogers, and that show that never came up big here. You know, the one that Tom Hanks is doing in it.
Painter, wasn't he?
Oh, no idea.
Who am I thinking of? No, I don't know. Wasn't big at all.
Yeah, just it never kind of. But it's same as the Bernstein Bears that weren't that big here. At least I can't remember them ever.
No, I remember them being on telly.
Bernstein, whatever they are.
Bernstein. No, I do remember them. Yeah. But they were only around for one series, I think. But then again, those series are very long. Like I'm watching a brilliant one on Netflix. It's called I think it's called The Grizzly Bear and the Lemmings. Oh man, it's hilarious. It's like old school Tom and Jerry, just ultra violence between this bear and these really annoying lemmings. You know,
and
it's
is it
great.
Kids?
Yeah, it's a kids one. Yeah, but it's proper
so
like
pretend to watch it with the wee man, then
Yeah. He loves it. It's like, but it's like Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote, all these kind of stuff, like just mega violence and just pummeling each other for 7 minutes. It's class. Old school.
Duncan Trussell's new Netflix animated show came out yesterday. I'm looking forward to it. He's the you know who he is. Yeah. So it's seems he's taken some guests from his. Do you know anything about it? I'm probably telling you stuff you already know.
No.
He's taken guests from his podcast, and he's taken. I'm not sure if it's directly lifting the actual audio from the podcast or the re-record it or something. But,
Right.
And then animate it and have an adventure around it. So the one I've kind of seen bits of is the Damien Eccles one, which is your man who was on death row who used magic to survive, being on death row for 20 years, being an innocent man and all of this type of stuff. So it looks like it could be interesting. The guy who did Adventure Time is the director thing, so it could be good. So it came out yesterday, so of course it'll be 6 or 7 weeks before I see that. With the way mine's, I have a confession to make. I watched Tiger King.
All of it?
All of it in one day.
Did you hate it as much as I hated it?
I'll tell you, I would never have watched it other than Vanessa, the wife, had it on, and it was just kind of, it was there, and then I was kind of going, oh, God's sake, and then by like episode 4, you're going, but did she kill him?
Oh, she definitely killed him.
Oh, she definitely, there's no question of that. But like, there's no way that, like, if that was just a TV series, not a reality TV series, there's no way you'd believe any of those characters are real at all. Like, you know what I mean?
No,
it's
absolutely not. It's completely bonkers. But it's like what I don't like about it is that it makes scumbags nice or relatable, and they're not. None of them are nice. The only people I liked in it are the people who worked at the park, and they all lost their hands and legs and shit like that.
Yeah.
You know, I thought meat. Yeah, I thought they were good, and his campaign manager, I liked him as well. Although it alleges, I read somewhere that in the later interviews, in the last episode, I think he's missing a couple of teeth, so he might be after getting into the meth as well.
Oh no!
Right. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it, to be honest. It's the article noticed, but it's like, I mean, of course, it's an interesting thing because you can see it's fucking captivated so many people that it's become this big cultural thing. Tiger King,
yeah.
And I suppose it's like making a murderer a few years ago. This what's his name? Stephen Avery or Michael something Avery. That was good because that was like, this fella's been framed and he's a redneck and you feel sorry for him because he's a redneck and it's not his fucking fault. But like, there's just nobody nice in Tiger King. It's just all awful.
See, this is my problem with TV shows like The Sopranos or Goodfellas or any of that. It's this kind of elevation of the scumbag, and you're meant to like think these people. And it's like I'd be watching and go, I don't like these people. And so I find it very hard to then, I just thought, well, hopefully they'll die very quickly. And but I think to get into Sopranos, you have to actually like the people, which is then kind of glorifying the same thing as Tiger King, glorifying the shittiness of people.
Yeah. Which Sopranos has a really good trick of it's up its sleeve. It uses the psychologist.
Yeah.
So Tony is a bit more relatable, even though, I mean, he's a shitbag. Obviously, I like The Sopranos, but I didn't like it as much as say, like I probably like Breaking Bad a bit more because then you have the downfall and the resurrection, which is
you have the arc.
Like if you watch Ozark is going through something similar at the minute. I haven't finished season 3 yet, but the wife character is like, it's totally Lady Macbeth. Totally, 110%. Right. It's totally Lady Macbeth. And so I'm kind of watching it going like, because it's the whole fucking hero's journey fucking obsession we all have now. And you're like going like, it keeps getting worse. It keeps getting worse for them. How are they going to pull out of it? And it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And at the end of every episode, I'm like, okay, well, in the next one, they're going to turn it around. No, it gets worse. In the next one. There's only 2 episodes left now. And I'm like, how are they going to save their asses here?
Season 4.
What? Yeah. It's good. Ozark is good, but it's quite dark and menacing. And I suppose the characters I like the most are like the 2 kids, even though they're not in it that much. They're like, the 2 kids are kind of the moral compass. Beam, moral compass. I never get that right. Compass, never get that right.
I watched Castle Rock. Did you watch any of it?
No.
Yeah. Do you like Stephen King as a?
I really like his lectures and stuff like that on YouTube. And
his
when
book
he's been
on writing is really good as well.
I might read that.
Yeah, it's very good. It's semi-autobiographical, that word.
No, I don't have it. No, I did read it. I read it years ago. Someone gave it to me and I gave it back. Yeah. That was great. Yeah.
I can give you the audiobook of it anyway.
Yeah.
So.
All right, sound.
Castle Rock's really good. It's one of those shows. It's very Stephen King, but doesn't ever jump the shark really. These type of, when there's any kind of fantasy stuff, it can very easily just turn into ludicrousness, like, and part of the kind of, for me in horror, is the build up. Say it's the house haunted, it's the house haunted, it's the house, oh, it is haunted. All right, I don't care now. You know what I mean? It's the whole trying to work out what the thing is. So it's very hard to get that balance of. But it's good. It's what if you like Stephen King, it's a very good Stephen King world, because it's obviously it's literally set in every book Stephen King's ever written. Like it's in the town of Shawshank, where the prison is, and it's all connected and all this thing. But let's say no more. The other one he did, what was the one recently? It's not The Stranger. That was the BBC or the UK thing. The one where your man from Ozark. Did you see that one where he was there was a crime committed and he was blamed for it, but there was video footage of him committing the crime and being 500 miles away at the same time.
Cool.
So I can't remember what it's called. It was good as well.
All right, no, at all. No, I try not to get sucked in by telly, man, to be honest. It was just Ozark was on. I don't. My ma had her Netflix on, so she was ignoring me. She wasn't talking to me. So I was like, all right, then I'll go on to Netflix and okay, season 3. All right, and now I'm just fucking. I'm gonna have to get off it again because I'd rather be watching something. I don't know, some documentary or reading a little bit or something, because I have that Advanced Magic for Beginners. What's his name? Mark Chapman.
Mark Chapman. No, not Mark Chapman.
Mark Chapman's a footballer, isn't he?
No, he's
not
the guy
even
who
a fucking
shot John
footballer.
Lennon.
Oh yeah. Well, there's another Chappers. Chappers is a Match of the Day host. Match of the Day 2 host. He's not even Gary Lineker. Mark Chapman shot. Okay, John Lennon and Mark Chapman works for the BBC. No, that's all I'm saying. All right. Alan Chapman. Chapman.
Hillary Clinton.
His book's really good.
Yeah, I like it.
There's one little thing that kind of irks me about it, though. It's kind of written in a. You know him, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Like I haven't been in the same room as him, but I've spoken to him.
You haven't broken bread with him.
I haven't broken bread with him. Sure. Yeah.
Well, he writes in a kind of a fuck you way.
He definitely 100% does. Yeah, particularly in that book. Yeah.
No, it's really good, but it's just a bit. I don't know. It's just a bit condescending as well.
What I think people find weird with that book is they think it's written by a guy who's a lot older, like he's in his 50s or 60s, but he's 27 when he wrote that. Like, so it's it has that kind of, it's not quite, I don't think it's quite condescending, but it's like, I have done this, man, and you have yet to do this, and I know better kind of a thing. But in a sense, he has, so, But he really, like there's people I know who really can't stand that book because of that attitude, that kind of thing. Like, they just can't have him at all.
But it's not, it's only maybe one sentence every second or third chapter. You get something like that, but fuck it, it's fine. I mean, whatever, that's his writing style. No, I like it because it just puts everything down really small and says, well, this is the essence of this. I mean, I'm going to disregard more. I'm not taking a wizard name. Fuck that, I have enough names.
Yeah. What would your wizard name be if you were going to take a wizard name, though?
Well, I would fall into the trap of taking something aloof or, stupid, and then a year later be like, oh, Jesus.
Why
now I have it tattooed on me as well. I'm like, fucking, what was I thinking? Idiot. No, I don't know. Beer Monster 69.
Well, I suppose a good test of how you would approach imaginary names, when you're setting up like a character in a computer game, do you try to be game, get in with the game and dress them and do them as if you're going to take the game seriously, or do you wear the big alien head and the big stupid t-shirt and the big boots? I think that's kind of the same kind of approach to wizard names. I always start games and go, all right, I'm going to be a real cunt in this game. I'm going to be nasty to everyone and really be, a proper, full-on hard man. And then about the second sentence into the first option you get to go, oh no, I'm really sorry. Nice. Please, I can't take this.
Yeah, I get you. No, I mean, I'd probably start off him, looking as part of the game, but then I'd change clothes halfway through because you just want to be a douche, and then but then change back then a while later. That's probably what I'd do. Yeah. I don't know.
The great thing about Advanced Magic for Beginners is that whole, I think it's chapter 4, I could be wrong, that here's the 5-step of how to do magic. And then apply it to any kind of thing, where it's like decide on what you want, pick something that you think represents or in your head is exactly the same as so in the sympathetic magic. Do the thing, See what happens.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I mean, it has all these exercises to do and stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, could give that a go. Not touching that one. Could give that a go. Could give that a go.
He has 3 more books after, and he's actually writing a new one at the minute. But the 3 books after that are from a blog he did with a guy called Duncan Barford. It was called The Baptist Head. It was a very huge, successful, kind of well-known magic blog back in the day. And so it's their kind of journey towards enlightenment or whatever, awakening or whatever that kind of thing, word you want to use for that. And they're really, really good. They are proper, really good. That you, once you start getting into meditation, you should read them as well, because they kind of, as much as it's like approaching awakening or enlightenment or meditation, that the bigger practice from a chaos magic point of view or from a magic point of view. So I find it very very enlightening. But again, it's kind of you never go fully with any of these people, and I don't think you should. It's particularly from a chaos magic point of view, where it is, find the bits that work for you. It's not looking at the Bible and go, I have to believe all of this, even though most of it's ridiculous or against my. When you read something like the Bible, like just the tangent off, and you go, well, I'm a better person than God. So what does that tell you? I'm going to discount most of that.
Yeah, I remember someone trying to argue with me that God is relative. And I was like, no, you can't argue that. That's not fair. You know what I mean?
No, that's not fair. That's like, you can't have it both ways,
time
man.
is relative. Einstein, he did all that stuff.
Yeah.
No, you can't say there's nothing. No. But the God now is different than the God of the Crusades.
Well, from the point of view of human consciousness, and if God is an idea or a servitor or an egregore, then fine, absolutely. It's because we're creating the God. Then you can definitely make that kind of.
Yeah, well, he kind of brought that up. He was like, no, it's because the people at that time believed that that's what he was then.
Yeah.
But he's different for us now. And I was like, no, you can't do that.
I kind of like that idea.
No, I like it now, but back then, Jesus, I was 18 arguing with someone about philosophical bullshit, and you're just like, no, well, I mean, he can't be, because then there would be so many changes of it or him or whatever through the book. You know what I mean?
Who's the guy who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Why is that name not...
Douglas Adams.
Douglas Adams. He had a great idea in some of the later books where he goes that the universe gets more complicated as we get more complicated. So that, years ago, this is me paraphrasing badly. So years ago when we were just like very new and, we thought the earth was flat. The earth was flat. And so then we gained a better understanding. So the universe had to evolve with us. So it gets weirder and weirder as we get weirder and weirder and expands and expands and expands. I kind of like that idea. It's the same God changes because we change type of... But if it is an evolution thing, say the whole point of all this is the evolution of a God, rather than say we're all gods evolving into thing. But if it's one God evolving into whatever it is, then it probably would change or mean that that God has to go through like a teenage year, an early adolescence, then become
kill all the Egyptians,
and then become
whoa, man, whoa.
get the fancy car and the younger wife, around the turn of the millennium. See what's going on there. Leave his family for a new family.
Well, I suppose, why not,
have an illegitimate son with someone,
Well, who am I to judge God? I said, whatever, anything's possible. I don't know. I was reading about. I sent you your man's name yesterday, Edgar Mitchell, and he had one of those moments. He's the astronaut who believes in aliens. There's only is it 14 men have walked on the moon?
I think so. Yeah, something. I think that seems right. Yeah,
he's one of them. And when he was up above the earth looking down, he had this profound bliss, euphoria moment where he had this thing, like the Grant Morrison thing we've spoken about, we're all one.
Yeah.
Well, what's it called?
What's that?
This belief that everything is one consciousness.
Oh, non-dual.
What?
Non-dual.
Non-dual. So non-dualness? Non-duality? What would you call it?
Non-duality, yeah.
Non-duality. So he had this thing, this non-duality, and he then went off kind of away from the hardcore science of NASA and started looking into consciousness and Buddhism and yada yada yada. And now there's I didn't know this. There's tons of lectures of him on YouTube. Just
I
talking
didn't know
about,
that
aliens are real. Like, they're definitely real. Like 100% are real. And he discloses some information about how there's good ones and bad ones. Like what I was saying about the Sirius and the Orion's Belt ones.
Yeah.
Orion's Belt are baddies. Sirius ones are supposed to be the goodies. That's what I've heard anyway. I might be completely mixing them up. You know,
that's what some guy told me anyway. So.
This is not true experience. And he says that the good ones have come down to the orbit and to the planet Earth, and they've dismantled like nuclear weapons and stuff.
Oh well, that's a true, not a true story. That's a true event that the nuclear weapons were the Americans control or something. Maybe it was the Russians. Some for a number of minutes when they were
cool, innit?
And they can't work out what it was, and everyone went, "Oh, aliens! Don't be messing around." Is Edgar Mitchell the guy who took his spacesuit or his badge, whatever it was that was on the moon, and cut it up and then puts it into his paintings? Is that him?
I don't know if he paints. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I know one of them did it. It could have been the other one. The other one. Neil Armstrong is meant to have never talked about, wouldn't talk about the moon the whole time when he came back. That he refused to talk about it to people.
Weird, eh?
Which is interesting. You know, of course, people jump on and go, that's because he didn't go to the moon. You know,
he didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
What was the moon like? Oh my God, a bird!
It must be really annoying for NASA though, like to go, right, we sent this guy to the moon and he came back a woo woo, you know, like he's nuts, like.
Well, apparently not. Like from that oh Jesus, what's the book I'm listening to?
American Cosmic.
What's it called? American Cosmic.
Cosmic, yeah. Jesus,
it's great. According to that book, it's because of him that NASA have disclosed lots of stuff, and he has, because because he was an astronaut and working with NASA, like he kept his job there, but just started looking into consciousness and reality and stuff like that. Yeah. But he was still working for them. He didn't want fired or nothing. Yeah. And because of him and the kind of pressure that him and the likes of not MUFON, there's another one like MUFON, but they're more kind of governmental or whatever. Okay. Because of them, they started to put pressure on Congress to release stuff about aliens and all that, and it's because of his kind of work that stuff has come out over the years. So it's like, I mean, I'd be fairly sure that like it's been revealed and it's actually in the public that there are aliens and that people interact with them, but it's just kind of done in such a boring way through politics that everyone's like, God, I just want to watch Tiger King.
Do you believe in the kind of nuts and bolts aspect of UFOs and aliens, or are you the kind of different dimension, or do you have an opinion?
The dimensions, sure, yeah, both. I'd say probably not in our solar system, but I'd say, yeah, stuff does come in and out to us. But then there would be other, I don't know, like, if there's beings, if there's like, what are we? We're fourth dimension, yeah? If there's fifth dimension beings, we are fourth, aren't we? Yeah, time. No, wait.
Time, yeah.
Yeah, we're four. Oh. So there's probably fifth dimension
I don't even know what dimension we're in.
I don't have a fucking clue. 3G, man. 5G. 4. Yeah, so 4, yeah. So there's probably a fifth who can look at us and like the lads Morrison's thing about the comic book.
Yeah.
And Dr. Manhattan and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, why not? Of course it can be possible. But then there's probably the seventh one sees that one differently as well. And isn't there the video there's 64 dimensions? Isn't that what they found?
Yeah. I must watch that again because that was really good. And I don't remember much of it. They know there's
8, but because they've located the 8th, then they've continued the maths on and found, no, actually this goes up to 64. Yeah. Which is mind-blowing.
Which you assume then has to be 64 by 64 as well, whatever that is.
That's a big number.
Yeah. So, and I don't have it to hand. So,
Nope.
Because there's that other thing, I suppose, like the angels and demons, or people are seen as could be UFOs, and it's that the UFO experience tends to, like God, tends to evolve and reflect human consciousness at the time. The way it went from cigar-shaped to chariots in the ancient alien sense, to then it went to rockets, and now it's like, whatever it is now, it's
Amazon Electras or whatever.
Like drones or something. But it also could be that, that thing of we're stealing their technology, so we're actually aping the UFOs rather than the UFOs reflecting us and all that. It all depends on what way you
exactly.
kind of you look at it.
I mean, I'd be, you know me, I'm a naive kind of hippie anyway. I'd be like, yeah, if there's aliens, I'd be like, yeah, with my poster going, come in peace, we come in peace, this is our planet. But we welcome you or something that. Hey, let's fucking party.
Is that at Independence Day? I think it's that one where they're doing that and all get killed. Or maybe it's Mars Attacks. That's actually what it is.
So, I mean, I wouldn't leave the house. If it stay at home watching on Sky News with a bag of cans. You know me.
It's interesting there's so many UFO reports now, but of course it's people with an awful lot more time in their hand and clearer skies, but that you'd see that purpley green light that's been seen all around the world and stuff. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Or those the background noise hum thing that was,
the hum thing is weird.
Yeah, that is very weird.
That's weird. I've never heard it, but I know people who've heard it, and I know people who live in a place where it's heard. It's very strange. It's got to be some kind of
Cthulhu. Cthulhu.
Or it's the two of the Donnan living in the hills of Ireland. That's what it is, They're fucking coming back, man. They're like, fuck this.
I tell you, you have the want on me, as we say here, to get really into the Irish mythology and stuff. I'm kind of going to steal that a bit from you. Just getting into it. It's like reading a couple of different things, and it's very hard to get a book that isn't shit. That's what I found. That isn't. I don't know. I want just give me the real story, and it's kind of like, well, there probably isn't a real story. Like that's the kind of thing. But it's hard to get something that it hasn't been together. New aged or kind of Americanized, which is fine for what it is, obviously. But that's not what I kind of look for. There's a book that we had when we were in school that my teacher used to read out, and it's all about the Red Branch Knights and I know it's not Red Branch Knights. Is that what they're called? Yeah.
Fina,
yeah. And I'd like to get it, because it had great art and stuff in it, but it's probably terrible if I see it now.
Probably it's just nostalgia that makes you think it was good. Yeah. No, I know. I think I know the one you're on about. We used to get those stories as well. About 4th or 5th class, is that right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. We had something. We obviously had the same book then.
Yeah.
It's just cool. But what I'm looking at, I'm just looking at the archetypes, and then I want to use. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix kind of tarot with what your 40 servants is kind of as well, a servitor deck, so it'll be mixed. So tarot, servitors, and as well there'll be kind of zodiac type stuff as well, So there'll be time frame, archetype, time frames, and then what does Jung call them? Animas and
animus,
Yeah, so there'd be good and bad elements that you can attach to both, and then the zodiac thing will kind of link it all as well. I don't know. It's just complicated, but I know I've gone too far into it now to back out of it.
Yeah.
It's not even that big a part of the book. It's just the story. It's just that it's something that will put. It's like Gwent. We said this last time. It's like Gwent in The Witcher. It's like, damn it, no, I have to make it work.
Oh, that's cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with. Speaking of the tarot, my dear man.
Yeah.
The Holy Mountain. How was that for you?
Wow. That was why do films have to be so long?
It's only 2 hours though.
2 hours, that's long for me. What's the one we watched there last week? The Angel one.
A Dark Song.
That was 99 minutes. Absolutely.
Best length of
9 minutes beyond perfect. 9 minutes beyond perfect. 90 minutes is the perfect film.
No, I totally agree with you. Although I have watched films that are longer and watch films that are shorter, and sometimes when a film is bad and only 90 minutes can seem like 4 hours.
Yeah, for sure. Look, to be honest, I was trying to think how to phrase this. Like,
just remember, this film is a beloved film in magic circles.
Is it? Yeah, it probably is. Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah, definitely.
And I like your man. What's his name?
Alejandro Jodorowsky or something equivalent to that.
I have his name here.
Alejandro.
Yeah. I should know how to say it. It's a fucking Polish name, like Jodorowsky.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Oh, he spells it wrong, so it means he's an immigrant. It should be SKI. Oh, these Polish
also the thing,
immigrants.
it's like because like J is a Y, right, in Polish or something like that. But I think his nickname is Jodo. So I don't know how that works out then.
Yeah, so it would be it should be Jodorowsky. Problem I had with it was, right, look, what it is I don't think film is a good medium for surrealism. I think surrealism is good is painting is where it should be, and photography, and
advertising. It works very well.
more of those types of art forms rather than film, because film is just. Well, look, it's just for me. Surrealism is a version of. This sounds so weird. Every painting is a fucking version of what you've seen or what you've imagined. Yeah,
yeah,
that's obvious. So for me, kind of what surrealism is it's that, but it's a surreal version of that. So it can only ever be a scene. You get me? And
right.
And
so you mean like Salvador Dali? Like it's the melting clocks only works because we know what a clock is. Is that kind of what you're saying?
No, not necessarily. No. But it's just that. Right. Say you paint something. You know, you paint what you see. No, sorry. You see something, you're inspired by it, then you reimagine it, you paint it, okay?
Yeah.
Then you can also do like a fucking complete 180-degree version of it and all fucked up, and it's the surreal version of that, all right?
Right, okay.
So it's the surreal version of the thing you imagined from the thing you saw. You get me? But it just captures that one frame, that one moment.
Right.
And for me, for a surrealist film, I think it's just overkill, to be honest.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I just find it a bit too
pretentious.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I think I wrote that to you. It's like, at what point is? Did I write it to you? Maybe I just thought it. I don't know. I dreamt it. Get out of my dreams, Tommie. Again, no. There's no, like at what point, like, is it just surrealist for the want of being surrealist rather than having an actual idea behind it, you know?
Right. Well, here's the thing with the Holy Mountain, which I think you may find interesting, in that I guarantee you, once you go through tarot and a bit more of the kind of imagery and the different things associated with it, you will see that most of that film, from what I can see, it's not just surreal for surreal, that everything is related to something, that it is a representation. Like there's no kind of, well, there's definitely some parts that are mad, but that an awful lot of it is, if done because it's known, iconic known imagery, and stuff like that whole that. It's pretty much the fool's journey from the tarot-ish. It goes off on its whole kind of thing. And so every bit, like even that, the rainbow corridor and, busting through the thing, the fact that Jesus' face is made of bread and, like there's all of this kind of stuff. It's not just, I'm going to eat the face of Christ. It's just, there's more kind of...
Yeah.
So I think, while I totally agree that surrealist for the sake of surrealism, it can be quite annoying and, you kind of go... It's like... the David Lynch thing, sometimes we go, well, I just don't get it, so I don't know what to do with it. Like I'm sure he get, and some like they say that he knows everything. And sometimes I'd say he just does stuff because it looks mad.
Yeah, exactly.
And that can be quite annoying. But I would say,
but like there was a big bang off at that. It was like, all right, this has been made by like a film studies class, and that's like 12 guys in this year's film studies class in fucking Griffith College have said, let's all make a film, man. And then you put the thing, and yeah, but what does that symbolize, man? Oh, that symbolizes this, and then yeah, but we gotta have the cleaning of the butthole.
That's the most important bit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, do you know what that means? No, what does that mean? Well, that means...
Well, what that means is I'm in charge and I get to say what I want.
They don't always speak properly as well. Like, sometimes they'll be speaking normally and then they'll go... Like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, And look, it's not that, like... Look, I like to think of myself that I'm fairly smart. And I think I am fairly smart. That's what I just said in another way. But, see, that's how smart I am. I can say the same things many different times. In many different ways. Look, I get the film. It's not that the film went over my head and I didn't get it. I don't.
I'm definitely not. I don't think that. That's not. If that's what it sounded like.
No.
I
But
definitely don't think
you know the way, like, you know, if I didn't like it because it's stupid. No, I don't think it was stupid. I just think it was over the top, and it went too far on certain things, like like the backstory of each planet.
Super boring.
Sorry?
Super boring.
Incredibly boring and just not needed. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, that's just me. Like, I'm, fucking proofreader, editor, or whatever. I'll always try and get stuff down shorter anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just that if I was making it, it's like, yeah, we don't need to know that. We don't need to know that. We don't need to know that. Do we need to know that? And a lot of it, like, with the stuff with the planets, it didn't have, for me anyway, it didn't have anything that was, not anything, but most of the background story of the planets and all wasn't needed for the resolution at the end, or wasn't needed for the next scenes or anything like that. It was just fluff that just like, and like I was even like, when I was watching, I was like, this has to be the fucking director's cut. Like, it has to be, because it's far too long and self-indulgent. Like.
I don't think it is. I think it's a cut.
No, yeah.
The bit, though, you had to appreciate was burn all your money to get your soul back. I mean, that had to resonate with you a bit.
Oh, bound for Moo.
So that's 1973. So that was definitely in the ether. And even the physical thing of the bounds of money being put into the fire, into the round pitch on a mountain. It's like, I thought that was super weird. But John Lennon paid for it. So this is it was projected to cost $1.5 million, but they reckon it cost half of that. So that's pretty good for
on the Wikipedia page it's 760 hundred or something like that, or 670 or something like that. Whatever, just over $500,000 anyway.
But still one of the most expensive Mexican films, like of the time.
Absolutely. Like the sets and the setups, and like there's so many people involved in it. Like, just going, this must have cost a fucking. How did he rope everyone into this? Like, because he would have had to have given the script to people, and then they've gone, I'm not doing that.
Well, that's exactly crazy. George Harrison. He was meant to be the thief, the main guy in it, and he says, he thought, I think it's the quote is, there's excessive nudity, which we know basically means that it's the wiping of the bum. He says, I'm not doing that. But supposedly they went for a week-long retreat before the start of filming, where everyone communally all stayed together, didn't sleep for a week, and we presume took loads of drugs. So I mean, that kind of.
Imagine so.
And then massive spoiler, I suppose, as well. Another thing, the ending of it, where you have the double fooled you. The ending is exactly like it's the Holy Grail ending, like which is considering that George Harrison produced that film. Then a couple of years later, it's a nice kind of correlation between that.
So
as well.
Which was first?
73 is Holy Mountain. So what's Holy Grail?
Holy Mountain was first.
Is 80, isn't it?
Holy Grail. It's and like. Yeah, because you wrote. I didn't mind the ending. You were saying that the ending was not for you, but like I was trying to think, like, had that been done before? Is there an ending like that in a film from before that, or were they the first to do this? I think it's the first to do that.
It probably is.
I think it is, and if it is, then I like the ending, because it's like, I think it kind of says this is my reading. It says to the viewer, right, these are the tarot cards. These are the story of the tarot cards. This is what they all mean when put all together. But you also have to live your life.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, look, you can't. I'm going to piss off all the tarot people now. But it's like, you can't depend on the cards to live your life. Just use them as a tool.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Actually, just to clarify, when I said I didn't like the end, I meant the whole end section, not that actual pull back bit, which I thought was brilliant. It's just that kind of that 12 people when it starts getting to the, after the thief into the stories of the thing, that kind of whole section is what I was referring to, rather than the actual. Because the double surprise thing, I think, is great. The first, as you say, live your life. You have to live your life. And I'm going to have to live my life. But surprise again. Hello, I'm here. That thing, and the Holy Grail ending or whatever it is. Yeah, I'd say that probably is the first time that it can't be the first time that there was filming of film equipment. Can it in the 70s?
No, it's probably not. It's probably not the first time there's been film of a set, but it's probably the first time where a director, the star has looked down camera and said, "Yeah, go off and live your life. Like, you know, I reckon they're the first to do that. Look, it's just too long, Tom. It's just too long. That's it. Like, it's just too long. Obviously I don't get all the references because I don't know the tarot cards enough. Well
and
enough.
I'm like, I don't get all the references either. Like, I'm not saying I know everything.
There's a lot of references to colonialist history as well. It's like there's the scene with the frogs fighting the other frogs, and that's the Spaniards taking on the natives.
So when they're throwing the or is that the other scene where they're the paint over the
No, it's frogs. Remember the frogs right at the start?
I don't know, it's a while since I've seen it.
They're frogs, like frogs dressed as conquistadors, and other frogs dressed like frogs, and not people dressed as frogs dressed as conquistadors. This is hundreds, if not thousands, of frogs.
Oh, right. Okay.
And and that just has nothing to do with the film at all. It just pops in, gone. And I go, huh? And then there's it's a very strange film.
Will you watch any of his other films, do you think?
I'll watch the Dune. There's a Dune documentary.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah,
it's good. Because he was supposed to do Dune, wasn't he, before Lynch?
Yeah.
And fucking Lynch's Dune is awful.
Yeah, but I think that Lynch suffered from he wasn't allowed to make the film he wanted either. I think there was something that wasn't quite just. Yeah. But like David Lynch doing Dune, like, I mean, like, what did he do? Eraserhead before that or something? Is that kind of it? I don't know. Right. Not the not something exactly I'd put together. Like, because
Dune is like it should be like a desert version of Star Wars.
Essentially. Yeah.
You know,
what I know.
Is David Lynch doing connected with that? Like, do you know, it's very strange. But anyway.
Yeah, and it's him as a character, Alejandro. He's really interesting. Like, his tarot book's very good. He has his own tarot deck, which is a version of the Tarot de Marseille. I actually have it. Where it's exactly the original, apart from a couple of bits that he changes, which drove people insane. That he changed these, you know. But he has this
what's the deal then with tarots like that? Because do all decks have 72 cards and are all
78
decks?
78.
Sorry.
Yeah.
God, nerd.
Not a nerd. If you go after all decks of 72, no, none of them have 72.
Okay, but do people take liberties and come up with their own decks and then have
100%,
less or more?
Absolutely, yeah. But to be considered, well, not to be considered, if strictly speaking, you'd say to a traditional tarot would have 78. That's the.
And so why then? Like, what's like? Anytime I've searched for them on shops and stuff, what comes up the most is the Rider deck. So why is the Rider deck seem to be more popular than what you say, the Marseille deck?
Tarot de Marseille. It's literally because it's the most popular. It's the one that most people know. It's the imagery that we're all most familiar with. It was probably the first mass-produced tarot deck, you know, for consumption by, you know, the great unwashed, rather than, you know, behind, you know, royalty behind closed doors, or the, you know, the kind of elites or this kind of thing. So that's why it's kind of most people's first tarot deck, in a sense, you know, just because it's definitely the first one I've seen, apart from the one in Live and Let Die by the James Bond film, which is his own tarot deck as well. It's not a traditional one.
Right.
So it's the other one, the Tot deck, Aleister Crowley's deck, would be another well-known one that would be fairly mainstream. But the Tarot de Marseille you'll know because it looks like playing cards. Like, it looks like what turned into you know, poker cards and stuff like that. It has that kind of a similar style. But there's so many different. Like, you can get Twin Peaks tarot deck now. You can get UFO tarot deck.
I know. I saw those Game of Thrones ones and all that. I hear, you know.
But whatever. Like, it's like, from a chaos magic point of view, go for it. Like, if you warm more to the archetypes being presented as Game of Thrones or superheroes, then why not? Like, you know.
I mean, whatever floats your boat. Like, no, I get that. But like, so how does it work? So you have the is it 20 or 21 of the top arcana? Is that what they're called?
22. Major arcana.
Yeah, my numbers are awful. So you have them, and then you have the minor ones.
I'm just because I have to make sure. I think it's 22 and 78. It'd be great fun if it's 72 and 20. Spud's right.
I was right the whole time. That's
I'll go back through.
I'm never right. Don't worry.
You'll hear if I'm wrong. You'll just hear this really bad editing of no 20. many cards there is 72. I know for sure that there's 40 cards in the 47s. That's all I know.
No, there's definitely 40, yeah. And so what happens, is it that kind of idea that I have, that these are the archetypes and then these other ones kind of have effect on them, or no?
No, well, think of it this way. So you have 22 majors, which are kind of, so it's the Fool's Journey. So you have the Fool to the world. And that it's how the Fool potentiality, or, the beginning journey, how you get then to conquer the world in a sense, and what happens along the way. So could definitely be seen as archetypes, and from like a BOTA standpoint, which is the Paul Foster Case stuff that I was talking about in Essentia, he would see them as archetypical. Not in a kind of Jungian archetypical, because Jung only has, he's 9, or is it, or 12, whatever.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. But like the Emperor has a particular feel, or energy and stuff, to the High Priestess, all this, and there's all the kind of Kabbalistic correspondences to that. Whereas the suits are conform to the elements. So you've the cups are emotions, love, water, and that kind of thing. The swords are what are swords? Intellect, that kind of stuff. And then you have the pentacles, which are, because you can see kind of represents money. So that's earth. That's the kind of, roof over your head. That's the your how you survive in the world. And from 1 to 10, it goes from no cups to 10 cups. So you have, a kind of a story in that too, different things. And the swords are like seen as kind of the worst ones to get, because there's, it's a really nasty kind of cards in that, in that kind of stuff. And then you have the court cards at the end of that, which can be different in different decks.
But so there's kind of 3 levels as well, like.
Yeah,
okay.
so there it's not like you can do a full tarot reading with just the major arcanas. You can do one without them or whatever. It's not just that you have the Emperor and then the 9 of Swords tells you something about the Emperor. It has its own kind of characteristic, depending on what way you want to approach the tarot as well. People have obviously their own different ways, but it's.
And were you ever into this stuff?
Yeah, no, I did get into it, but I was not. It's the same as, like, say, the runes or any of these. You have to be kind of immerse yourself in it and be doing it every day. Otherwise, you just, for me anyway, you lose an awful lot. It's like playing guitar. Like, you'd get back to it quicker if you haven't played in a while, but you're definitely not keeping up with it. But kind of what I took from the tarot and what I took from runes and all that is what I put into the 47s. So the bits I liked, the bits I wanted, the bits I enjoyed, is what I then stole outright or whatever and put into my thing. But I did this. I spent like I was in BOTA for a good while, and I did do the lessons, and I did take it quite seriously. And part of the study course of the BOTA is you colour in the major arcana yourself. You get really familiar with the artwork and the symbolism and stuff. But I definitely don't know what I knew then. I was.
And what's kind of the history on them? Is there, because like. Okay, I've been looking up into this Kabbalah thing has been coming up, the 7 principles of it, and I find that fucking fascinating, because if you can put those 7 kind of principles on top of your archetypes, that's fucking
Kabbalah,
that's class.
Or Hermetism.
Hermetism, yeah.
But they're very separate, so that's 2 very different kind of schools.
So I'm mixing them up.
You are slightly, yeah. Well, I mean, they all kind of ultimately point at the same thing, but the Kabbalah stuff is the Sephiroth, the Tree of Life.
Yeah, I'm mixing up. Yeah. There's far more points on the Kabbalah than, what am I doing? Hermetism. Yeah. Okay, so I might just go with the Hermetism stuff, because that sounds, if you could put
Hermetism is reality transfer from that, like that. That's the evolution. Whereas Kabbalah is very different. Not to say it's not as useful. I didn't ever find it practically useful. That's the thing that I didn't enjoy so much about the Kabbalah, and seemed, everyone tries to force everything into the 10 Sephiroths or the Tree of Life. It's just kind of like,
people say, is that what it is?
Yeah, where does the 47s fall on it? They don't, because it's not.
Yeah, it's not part of it.
But from a Kabbalistic point of view, if you believe in the Kabbalist point of view, then everything does fall into it. So it's it depends on your perspective.
Okay. But on which then the tarot cards are connected with it, yeah?
Depends on who you ask. Originally, they probably weren't, but they definitely, from people like the Golden Dawn and Crowley and that kind of thing, particularly Golden Dawn and BOTA, would make a case that it is Kabbalistic in nature.
Okay. So they would have been crowbarring it into it, kind of thing. Yeah.
From my reading of it would be, but it fits. So that's the weird thing, it does fit.
Because obviously this whole Kabbalah thing would be a lot. Well, maybe because it's based on the old Hebrew mysticism stuff. That's probably far older than tarot, is it?
I don't think so. I think, well, yes, because tarot's like fairly recent. Like it's a couple hundred years. Like the people try to make it be Egyptian or thing, but there's no actual evidence for it.
Couldn't have been, because if there's stuff based on the planets, they didn't know Pluto was around.
Well, the tarot itself isn't based on the planets, though. Well, I mean, it depends on what way you want to go with. Like strictly the Tarot de Marseille, which is possibly the oldest one that we know of, doesn't have as much of that symbolism. It looks fairly similar to the court cards. That's not
so. Why did your man have it in the film then?
Because he's putting loads of stuff into it. Like it's not just tarot. It's like it's the hermeticism. God, speak properly. Hermetism. That's like me. That the adaption that Irish people say. It's a film adaption. That's the occult version of it. There's a lot going on. But I mean, there is all these correspondences. Like magic and occult, they just go crazy for correspondences. Like Aleister Crowley has an entire book which is just literally correspondences. Which is this look is the same as this is the same as this. Because we're always like just looking for pattern making machines. And that's the thing I was telling you about the Gematria, which is, getting the numbers of each words and seeing which are connected. And it's all mad, but sometimes you'll get crazy connections that you go, that totally makes sense. And other times you just go, all right, that makes no sense.
Bullshit. Yeah. Yeah, strange. Okay, well, I suppose, just for some reason I just thought that there were planetary cards or zodiac elements of the tarot.
There is, but it's like... I would suggest the best thing to do is go investigate it yourself, because I'm probably going to put you down a wrong road and things, because I'm not enough of an authority on the tarot in any way to...
but like I only thought that because he had this in the film. That's the only reason I thought it. Like I've never held a tarot deck in my life. Never. Okay. I have no... I only have a vague kind of idea of even what it is, like,
Yeah.
I know herself has a deck somewhere, but I've never seen it.
Right. I guarantee it's a Raider-Waite Coleman deck.
I have no clue. It's maybe we didn't even bring it to the new house when we moved. I don't know. But it's something she had when she was a teenager. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's just it's a bit like your approach, like just taking some of the ideas and using it for what I want, really. And like even like I don't even know why I'm wanting to use the Celtic archetypes. It just kind of sounds that maybe it's just because I'm setting the thing in Poland, but me. I miss Ireland.
Yeah, and I mean, but there's the case to be made that you want to use the archetypes that are, part of your physical being. That's what you go up.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, the Celtic gods that speak to me more than the Romans or the Greeks because I know them better.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and they're more crack.
But even if you didn't know them better, like it would be because it's your from a woo perspective, because it's your heritage and your bloodline and your thing. They should respond better to you. Because it's like in the way that an Irish person, in theory, should have a better road to the Celtic Irish gods than it would to the Egyptian gods, because it's not your territory, And this kind of, I know it's the kind of, you can then get into cultural appropriation and stuff like that and whatever. That's not really what I'm pointing at, but it's just like, it's like the spirits of your locality, the spirit, the loci, your genius loci, you're probably going to have a better chance of getting in contact with them. Your better chance of getting in contact with the spirit of the forest that's beside you than the spirit of the forest that's the other side of the world.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Not that you're not allowed to go visit the other forest or learn what you want from it or whatever. You just, this is your forest.
Yeah. Oh, I get you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it makes sense if that kind of stuff makes sense.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It depends what way you want to look at it. Like, yeah. Someone said to send me a message. Go, it's the great thing about the podcast is seeing Spud's journey from the fool to the magician. And that's only the first 2 cards of the tarot. You have another 20 to go after that.
Oh God! Fucking 5 years later, then I'll eventually get to the what? How does he win? He rules the world. I'm going to rule the world.
The world or the universe, yeah.
Transcendence. Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, like,
and quite likely the last card is hermaphroditic as well. So I mean, could enjoy that too.
Yeah, cool. Because like I know, like I mean, like I've put pen to paper for a couple of stuff in it, but I keep like I'm watching that Brandon Sanderson lectures.
Oh yeah.
They're great.
Okay.
Like,
Want to go
and like he comes up with stuff, and I'm fucking searching, opening the file, and writing that down. Then so the first like 2 pages now are just like ideas, and then the rest of it is some story. But like I want to pile in as much kind of, I suppose, woo and symbolism as well, but not surrealism. Alejandro, not surrealism. Do you know, just to try and. Yeah, but then you have to make it into a coherent story as well. And,
well, the actual genre, I suppose, that is the same genre that I enjoy. It's magic realism. It's magic within the real world rather than surrealism or fantasy. Like I know Brandon Sanderson is more fantasy in a sense, fantasy, I suppose, but it's like whereas say something like Tim Power's Last Call, which I don't think you've read, it's magic realism, whereas Harry Potter is fantasy. You know, it's like let's see if we can give an example of course I won't be able to think of it. But anyway, so check out magic realism because I think that's what you're pointing at, which is trying to not be the holy mountain while using and integrating the all of this stuff.
Yeah,
like the Last Call by Tim Powers is all about the tarot being used combined with a normal deck as a game for people's souls, and it's very interesting. Yeah,
cool. I like that.
Yeah,
what's it called? The Last Call.
Last Call. Yes, grip.
Tim Powers. Do you remember there was like a Krista Berg song? Here's a tangent. We all know Krista Berg, Lady in Red. No, not that one. Do you know he has a story about the devil and playing cards for someone's soul? You know this one?
Yeah.
So apparently that's based on this is a big legend in Wexford. You'll know it as well. From where I'm from, about Loftus Hall, a hotel.
Well, I know it because you told me it.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's massive down here, obviously, because I'm down there. But even like my dad worked on the roof down. So apparently, it was a rainy, stormy night, a dark night, and light hadn't been seen for 4 days. It was so rainy and cold. But anyway, Loftus Hall was a kind of guest house, pub thing, and a man called up to the door at 2 o'clock in the morning, and he had nowhere to stay, and he was drowned wet, and he was covered from head to toe with water. He was basically a wave. And he wanted somewhere to stay, and he was a bit weird, and they let him stay, and he got changed. They came down, they were playing cards, and he was winning the whole time, and eventually one of the ladies dropped a card, and she went down to pick it up, and then she saw his feet were cloven hooves.
Right,
and with that, she started saying the Hail Mary or something. And then he took off then up through the roof, and to this day the roof cannot be fixed apparently.
Oh, right.
Yeah, my old fellow would testify to that. He's even been called into and he was like no. And we were down there one time, and he scared the bejesus out of me because they keep it dark and spooky and fucking weird, and it's great, like. But I was just walking off down the hall, and I thought Doubtful had gone into the bar, and I was just walking along. Ah! Then he just jumped out in front of me. And the only thing is, I was like 15 or something. Like, do that to an 8-year-old kid, you know what I mean? Freak the fucking shit out of me. Because, you're walking in, you're like, this is where the devil was. Whoa! Yeah. And, what was I going to tell you about that?
Well, it started off with Krista Berg, so.
So this is what the song is supposed to be based on. Yeah. Because he has a house in Wexford. He's not from there, but he's
Argentinian, isn't he? Originally.
Yeah, he's Argentinian, but like his house in fucking arsehole of Wexford. It's like, how did that happen? You know. But anyway, but it's a cool song, man.
Yeah.
And he has
I
another
forgot
song
all about that song. He's done the one about space travelers coming as well.
That one's great as well. What the fuck is going on? Are we getting old? We're starting to like Krista Berg.
I did not say that. I did not say that.
He has those two very good songs though. Yeah, and it starts off the card one. I think it starts off in D minor as well, so it's trouble.
Oh yeah, it's the saddest of all chords.
Some bad shit's gonna get in. Do you know what it reminds me? Or the Tenacious D song, the tribute.
Oh yeah.
The tribute always reminded me of that. It's like, does Jack Black listen to Krista Berg? That can't. There's no way. Like, it's just I don't know.
Yeah, of all the things you say in this podcast, whether or not Jack Black listens to Krista Berg is probably the most woo. That can't be right. I just can't believe that. I can't believe that. I will go plenty far not believing that.
Yeah, I'm willing to go far, Tommie. But even watching the High Mountain, it was like, Tommie.
Holy man.
Tommie, I don't know, Tommie. This might be my line, like, but it's just that there's plenty of places in it where I just found it kind of boring. Do you know?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's an amazing film or anything. I think it's visually amazing, and I'm glad it exists as a film, and I'm glad films like that are made. And I really like Alejandro as a person. But as I was saying to you, he's another one of those people who I like him more than I like his art. Yeah. And I like his approach, and I like he had this whole cyber magic stuff, which is how he gets people to get over trauma, and and it's insane.
Really?
Yeah, and it's brilliant, but it's mad. So he's a couple of books, and his tarot book's good and all that, and I like all of it, other than film's just okay, but I love the whole pendulum of it, if you want. Like,
he's another comic book guy, you know that, don't you?
Yeah, he did.
Isn't that weird? Isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's odd, isn't it? Like, I mean, it is
odd.
All connected.
Him, Grant Morrison, and Alan Moore now, and it's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, and I was thinking there was
comics, Tommie.
Yeah, there was something the other day as well, because I remember you saying that to me, and I was going, oh no, there's like two other people that I went, why haven't I mentioned that? But I don't know if it was directly comics or whether it was art or what it was. Or maybe it was just because we've been watching the Thomas Sheridan stuff, and he's an artist as well, and I was going, oh, that's interesting that there's all this art kind of related. But I think it does come down to most people are into magic or this type of thinking or whatever it is, are also have that brain that is a creative brain. So it's rather than say comics or magical, it's just that people are attracted to creativity or also into these things. I think maybe.
Yeah. But I wonder why comics in particular, though.
Well, it's the oldest magic, isn't it? It's the drawing the things on the cave wall. It's it's pictorial representations of what we're trying to change in the universe. But I suppose, Osman Spar was an artist too. Like, had comics been a thing, would he have done comics at the time? It's hard to know. Maybe.
Yeah. I wonder. Because, yeah. I don't know. Because, there's still kind of that thing where, comics are still kind of looked down upon, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, massively. Yeah.
And I think for someone to be successful in comics, they have to kind of really break through that kind of invisible barrier that doesn't exist, I wonder, what was it about Moore and Morrison that kind of made people, take notice?
Well, Moore definitely changed the shape of comics, bringing it from comics of kids to comics of adults, that whole mature, dark, gritty Watchmen, to change the face of comics. Along with Frank Miller, Dark Knight Returns, that kind of stuff. And I suppose Grant Morrison, Neil Gaiman, that kind of stuff was, part of that greater thing. Whereas, from a kind of an outlook, Grant Morrison, kind of is the dichotomy of Alan Moore in a sense is he's more positive, whereas Alan Moore's more negative towards superheroes. Grant Morrison elevates them, but it's the same pendulum. It's the same. It's the same coin. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's just one of those timing was right kind of things.
I suppose, yeah.
You Alan Moore, Frank Miller, Grant Morrison, Neil Gaiman. But then you had Jim Lee. You had who's that guy who can't draw feet? My brain is so bad. If I haven't taught of someone in a while, my brain just goes, yeah, he doesn't need that knowledge anymore.
He's dead.
The guy who did X-Force, what's his name? I can see his face. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You don't care. There's people screaming at the podcast now going, it's fucking... But I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know. I'm looking for an answer, and I don't have an answer. But I suspect there is an answer.
Yeah. Well, look, maybe there's nothing that connects them, but maybe there is, because like Alan Moore went from doing stuff in his local paper to wasn't he doing 2000 AD then?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like 2000 AD would always have been adulty, not teenagers, wouldn't it?
Well, it definitely was not for the same people who are reading the Beano and the Dandy, you know.
No,
so it was,
but it was the next.
But I suppose you had action, battle and action force. Those war comics. It was whatever. Yeah, so teenage boys. That's what.
Yeah. And then, yeah, funny. I wonder, did Alan Moore did he always have these kind of thoughts of where he wanted to go with comics, or did it just kind of happen when he was doing 2000 AD and said, I can push this a bit more, maybe I can go down this way? Like, was it a conscious thing? Well, he says he made
he says he made one conscious decision, which that he took the risk because he had 2 young kids, he had a family, and he goes, well, I can either go and get a real job, and which is the most sensible thing to do, or I can become the person I want my kids to like, and show them that there is a great world, and take the risk on the comics. So there was a point where he made the decision, I'm going to go for this.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle of it, knowing that it was going to be a struggle financially for a while or whatever. But then it's at the end where he goes that because he did stick to that kind of thing, that it's in that podcast you sent me, where he says that my integrity, I was able to put it on the line that when it came to it, and I said I don't think you should make movies out of my stuff, that it was like his integrity felt was worth millions of pounds. So so he said no to the millions of pounds, which is a kind of a similar thing to burning the £1 million of the KLF. It's like, because it's about getting your soul back, and staying integral to yourself and that. So it's, oh my God, if you're going to be a magician and a creative, you have to at some point get rid of £1 million.
Like how come he never refuse, or how come he never had the power of authority to refuse films? Because
he signed a shitty contract. Well, not a shitty contract.
He signed a contract with all of those comics.
Here's the thing. When he signed a contract with DC for V for Vendetta and Watchmen, it was before graphic novels were a thing. And so was that as soon as it goes out of print, which normally was a year in comic terms, all the rights would revert back to him. So he signed what he thought, even though no one did any of them, this is the word, said he would get all the rights back within a year. But because Watchmen has never been out of print and V for Vendetta has now been out of print, he never will get the rights back. And so DC get to decide what they do with it because they're their property.
Okay.
So it's like that. It's the meme of Alan Moore signed the document. He knew what he was getting into, but it's like, it's that thing. He agreed to something that he thought wouldn't materialize, but he still agreed to it. It's like, wow, George Michael still agreed to the shitty record contract, or so to Blur, all of these people who, but that's not to say that's not good practice and fuck them. Like the 2 guys who created Superman had to fight for years to get some sort of recognition and some sort of money and stuff, and they did in the end to some degree. But they equally signed a contract and were quite happy with their $700 or whatever they got initially for, Superman.
Of course.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know. I don't really know what I think on it is that if you sign a contract and agree, if I sign a contract with you and go, here's the 40 servants, you can have them for 700 quid and you own all of them. And then you go off and do something amazing with them. Do I really have, go, well, I think I should get some of that millions now. I don't know.
I'm married to one of them. Every fucking supermarket we go into, we see Aga's logos, Aga's designs everywhere. I mean, I think the biggest one was that a couple of years ago, the Polish Eurovision entry used her images as their backdrop. So that was seen by hundreds of millions of people. Hundreds of millions of people.
But I assume legally, they bought it. It's not just that they used it.
Well,
how would you know?
I presume they did, because someone like that would be above board.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They would have. But, we presume.
Yeah.
But there's tons of, sometimes she can chase up money. She'll go onto Etsy. She'll put in the tag words connected with certain of her designs. Yeah. And you'll just find pages and pages and pages and pages of people who haven't bought the license. Right. And then you just chase them up and say, look, have you bought the license? Because legally she's allowed to ask anyone around the world.
Yeah.
And if they have, then she says, thank you. If they haven't, she says, okay, you can buy it here. But most people just take it down.
Yeah.
You know, even though like the cheapest license is 30 or 40 euros or something, it's not much, you know.
Yeah, she should really be putting sigils and all that. Really, oh man! Imagine you had a sigil that was in the Eurovision. Like, come on. Yeah.
Supercharged, huh?
That's what people say. Next time anyone leaks any kind of celebrity sex tape, just put a sigil in the corner of it. You know? You get that fairly activated.
That's brilliant. That's genius. Oh, you're giving me ideas now.
Spud, do you want to talk about this idea you have for stuff, or for sigils and stuff, or what? If you don't, I can edit this out, but
no.
Give you the push then.
No. So like, I think I'll put out a video in a day or two, but I'll just make it for your Discord. I'm not going to put it on YouTube or anything.
Right.
It's very short, but it's just me making sigils, and if anyone wants me to make one, I think I can do kind of two ways of doing it. Either I can do a sigil that's sent to me if someone wants to. If you have your own kind of sigil that you want charged, I suppose this is a way of charging it. Yeah. Is I'll carve it into some wood and I'll send it to you. I reckon I can do that for about 20 or 25 quid kind of thing. Because it's just
$1 million.
No, but it's about something like around say 20 or 25. I'm not sure yet. I have to look into the time and all that it takes to do, and I have to charge by hour. This kind of way is how I'm thinking it. Or another way is that I could meet with people online and talk to them for a while, and just try and come up then with an overall kind of idea or phrase or something like that we could both come up with, and then I could put it onto something as well. So that'd be a bit dear, all right, because obviously we're taking time and there's a bit of artwork and stuff involved in that. But that's kind of my idea to do that. And so I've sent one over to you. You should get it in the next week or two. Hopefully, in the next 2 weeks, you should get it.
Yeah.
And it's
I can't wait. It's the bind sigil. Look forward to it. The photo looks great. I think it's a brilliant idea. Like, when you said it to me, because we were kind of thrown back a couple of ideas, and you said that, I go, no, that's the idea. There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
And you could go all out mad with it as well. You could go, I'll bring this out to the forest. I'll show it to Pan in the forest. You know,
pay me money and I'll go burn some wood.
I'll go into the forest and go, I'm going to do it. I'm going to sacrifice this child wood.
I was even showing him to my outfit, and he was impressed. He was like, "Geez, there's an artist in you, all right." I was like, "Jesus, my outfit has never encouraged me to do anything my whole life."
Right? See what happens when you get a
outfit is sound
entwined in magic. Even your relationship with your dad blossoms.
No, me and the outfit always get on well anyway. But he wouldn't really be artistically inclined or anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
His idea of high art is tombstone or a Western, you know, which maybe that's where love of Western comes from. Yeah. But that's what I want to do. So I can cut up logs of wood. They're usually about between 15 and 20 centimeters of a circle, you know.
Right.
And then
what's that in American?
17 shekels.
It's no idea. 3/4 of a foot, isn't it?
A couple of inches, I don't know. Anyway. And so I'll put them on the Discord anyway, so people can see them. And if they want one from me, then should just get in touch and we'll sort it out. And I think it's cool. It's a bit of art. I'm going to buy some finger joint boxes as well, and put stuff onto them. So if you have like little keepsake.
Well, I don't know what that is. What is
no, it's just a box. They're just boxes.
All right.
Little wooden boxes, but they're strong because the joints are they're called finger joints.
Oh, so I know. They just
meet
slot
at the corners
in,
like that. Yeah. So they're strong and they're sturdy enough, and I'll carve some stuff onto them as well. So I'll either be doing like Aga's Polish logos, or I can do some sigils as well. So whatever people are into. And they're cool because they're little keepsakey things where you can keep your 40 servants in them, or you can keep your jewellery in them, or whatever. I don't know. Drugs.
Or you could put a sigil on it that is an activation sigil or a power sigil, right? So this is to increase the power of any other sigil that you would put inside the box. So it could be like a manifestation box.
Oh, I like it.
I'll only take 75% of all sales.
Deal. Fuck, that's recorded. Fuck.
Yeah, Alan Moore and his contract. That's how I got him back in the 80s.
I don't know, but like it would be very tempting. Like when, I don't think he was a struggling artist then, but when you're given a contract like that, like how far into the future are you fucking looking? Like you just go, oh, this is brilliant, fucking, this is getting worldwide distribution, and you're like, yeah.
But not even that. It's like kind of, unless this is the most successful comic of all time, I'm getting this back in a year. So I mean, it's like the reason why it fucked up from it is because it was so successful, like, you know, and changed the face of comics. Yeah. So part from has to be going, well, you know. But like, I mean, if we're going to get screwed in a contract, being successful is a good way of getting screwed. And
like, for it then to go out of print for a year, like what would that, does that involve? Like,
no, it doesn't have to go out of print for a year. It just has to go out of print. So it's to have to go, right, we're never, well, I mean, there must be a time limit. So I don't know what the time limit, but it's not necessarily, it was just that it had to, most graphic novels were printed once and went, that's the end of it, and were never printed again. So then he would have got the rights back, but it just continued to be in print. Is that what the question?
Yeah. Like what would it take for us, the people of Earth, to give more money to Alan Moore and just not buy Watchmen for a year or something, you know? Literally, nobody now, forever, or for 1 year can buy Watchmen. That's it. I mean, that wouldn't be that hard to organise, would it? You know, just nobody buy Watchmen. Nobody.
I mean, that's not going to happen. You know, because like you have to talk to people.
That attitude.
Who
do a sigil.
You know, I think there was some sort of because he ended up working for. He said he'd never work for DC again, and then he worked for another company. And while he was in the middle of doing a series, Prometheus, I think the series he was doing, DC bought the comic company that he was working for, so he essentially had to work for DC again. And I think there was some manoeuvring of contracts, or when Jim Lee took over DC, but there's still, like, he doesn't talk to David Lloyd anymore. I don't think he talks to Dave Gibbons anymore. All falling out over money. Like, there was a very public thing that Alan Moore put out about what, like, David Lloyd didn't even thank me for the money that, because Alan Moore give, not that he didn't take money, the money he was given for Fee Vendetta, he gave to David Lloyd. So he says he didn't even thank me for it. And, you know, there was like, it's like, you know, probably not do this thing in public, you know, like kind of, it's like, but at the same time, like, if someone didn't thank you for £1 million or whatever it was, you might go, and he didn't fucking thank me.
No, I suppose I get it, but like, I don't know. I mean, he seems to be doing all right. Maybe. I don't know. I have no idea.
He was retiring for comics, and then he had to do another comic because he got a huge tax bill and didn't have the money to pay it. So, I mean, he might be making a lot of money. He might be great with keeping it. Like, although, like, I don't know. Who's to know? Like, people, like, there's some people...
I wonder with someone like him, who's so into magic, and Grant Morrison as well, and say with this Alejandro fella, like, at what point do they say, like, right, I gotta stop doing magic about money? Do you know?
I would say they don't. I'd say it's not even, like, there's no way Grant Morrison is doing magic for money. He's doing it for creativity, which is, you know, the money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There has to, like, I mean, it would be very disheartening to think that Alan Moore is doing magic to pay his fucking rent. You know what I mean? You know, that would be... Oh, I don't like that idea at all, you know. But I could be quite happy with, say, Grant Morrison doing magic to get the castle in Scotland that he has. You go, I think, yeah, right, fair enough, you're moving into a castle. But if it was like 2 months later, yeah, you know, better do this sigil and this latest Batman. Yes, my 600 quid rent money for next week. Oh, Grant, no.
Yeah, that would suck, all right. And I hope...
Although when they were doing All-Star Superman...
You got the cogs working last week where you were saying to me that, like, was it last week, the week before? Like, most people get into this from that kind of point for, like, I want money, or I want to get back with the ex, or I want to fucking break my ex's legs or something. Like, I could never imagine getting into something like this because of that, because it's just bad vibes, man. Bad vibes. Bad vibes? Bad vibes. Bad vibes.
Yeah, no, and I understand that, and I mean, it's like, it's a way to say to people, don't curse people. Like, not that it's for a moralistic point of view, do whatever you want, but it's because it's attaching you to this situation longer. You know, it's like, don't curse people because it'll fuck you up. You know what I mean? More than it'll fuck them up, because it's like and it just following, because, like, I mean, same with any of these things. Like, don't try and get your ex-girlfriend to love you again if she doesn't. Do magic to move on with your life, because you're only prolonging this fucking nightmare, you know, after you break up with someone, and most of the torture is you still trying to get your brain to understand you're never getting back with this person. And like, that's just like, if you could move along that quicker.
I have a trick for you, Tommie.
Right,
what you do is, right, you stop calling them, you stop answering their text messages.
Right.
And then what happens is they eventually send you a message saying, we need to talk. Okay?
Right.
And then you show up, and she has all the guilt of breaking up with you, even though you wanted to do it anyway, but you're too cowardly to do it. And then you're grand. You know, you walk away with it, not feeling guilty because you wanted to do it. And also, you don't have the guilt of having to break up with someone because she dumped you. You're grand. You get away with everything. That's how I used to break up with girls. I used to get them to break up with me.
Right. I've only ever broken up with one person in my life. Everyone else broke up with me. Poor Tommie. Oh, no one loves me.
Bye-bye!
Awesome.